The double doors of St. Mary's Episcopal Church creaked open like a coffin lid splintering under pressure, and every head in the packed pews snapped toward the intruder. Rain-slicked shoes squeaked on the polished oak floor as Stephen Hale stepped inside, his heart pounding louder than the organ's mournful swell of Amazing Grace. He was 32, but in that moment, he felt like a ghost crashing his own wake. Uninvited, unlovable, unbreakable. "Oh God, it's him," whispered Aunt Marlene from the front row, her voice slicing through the hush like a knife through cake. The air thickened with gasps and the rustle of funeral programs crumpling in fists, but Stephen didn't flinch. He clutched the manila folder under his arm, its edges frayed from years of secrets, and scanned the room for the one face that still haunted his dreams. His father's, etched in perpetual disapproval. Reverend Ellis faltered at the pulpit, his Bible slipping an inch in his trembling hands. This is a private service," he stammered, but Stephen was already moving down the aisle, the scent of lilies and regret choking the space. He stopped at the flower-draped casket, empty, of course, a symbolic grave for the son they'd buried alive. "Private," Stephen echoed, his voice steady as Midwest steel. "You killed me in front of God and everybody. Now it's my turn to rise." The summer Stephen turned 18, the air in Elmwood, Kansas, hung heavy with the promise of escape, like the cicadas screaming from the cottonwoods along the Arkansas River, begging him to run. Elmwood was the kind of town where football Fridays lit up the sky with bonfires and beer-soaked cheers, where the grain elevator loomed like a sentinel over fields of amber wheat that stretched to the horizon. It was America at its heartland finest, barbecues on the 4th, church potlucks where Jell-O salads wobbled like uncertain alliances, and a fierce, unspoken code that kept secrets buried deeper than Grandpa Hale's old tractor in the back 40. Stephen had known he was different since he was 12, when he'd stolen glances at Tommy Whitaker changing in the high school locker room, the steam from the showers curling around Tommy's lean, sun-kissed frame like forbidden smoke. It wasn't the girls in their cheer skirts that quickened his pulse. It was the rough camaraderie of the boys, the way their laughter echoed off the cinder-block walls, raw and alive. But Elmwood didn't raise queers. It raised men, stoic, straight arrow types like his father, Harlan Hale, who farmed 300 acres of sorrow and called it legacy. Harlan was a bear of a man, broad-shouldered from decades wrestling combines and calving seasons, his face weathered like old leather from too many suns and not enough smiles. He'd built the family from the dust of the Dust Bowl tales, his own pa spun, turning Hale Farms into the county's pride. Stephen's mom, Evelyn, was the soft counterpoint, petite, with laugh lines that crinkled like crepe paper and a voice that could soothe a spooked colt. She baked apple pies that won blue ribbons at the fair and whispered bedtime stories of far-off cities where dreams didn't die in the dirt. Then there was Caleb, Stephen's older brother by 5 years, the golden boy. Caleb had lettered in football, married his high school sweetheart right out of community college, and popped out 2 towhead kids before Harlan could even toast the occasion. Caleb was the son Harlan prayed for twice on Sundays, devout, dependable, the spitting image of what a Hale man should be. Stephen, he was the quiet one, the dreamer who sketched wild horses in the margins of his algebra notebook and volunteered at the library just to lose himself in books about New York skyscrapers and California beaches. He played quarterback on the junior varsity team, not because he loved the game, but because Harlan's eyes lit up when he threw a spiral that sailed true. "That's my boy," Harlan would grunt, clapping Stephen's shoulder hard enough to bruise, as if affection were a contact sport. But the truth gnawed at Stephen like termites in the barn siding. It started small. The way he'd linger too long in the barn after chores, watching the farmhand Luis mend fences, his forearms corded and glistening under the July sun. Luis was 25, with an easy grin and stories of his village back in Mexico that made Stephen's world feel small and suffocating. One evening, as thunderheads rolled in from the west, Luis caught Stephen staring. "You got something on your mind, Chico?" he'd asked, wiping sweat from his brow with the back of his hand. Stephen's face burned hotter than the branding iron. "And nothin'," he'd stammered, bolting for the house. That night, he lay awake in his twin bed, the ceiling fan whirring like accusations, and prayed to a God who seemed as distant as the stars over the Flint Hills. "Please, Lord, make it stop. Make me normal." High school blurred by in a haze of stolen moments. Brushing knees with Jake in biology lab, heart racing at the accidental graze, declining prom dates with a politeness that masked terror. Graduation came like a parole hearing. Stephen packed his beat-up Ford pickup with duffels of clothes and a shoebox of cash from baling hay, aiming for Kansas State University in Manhattan, close enough to visit home, far enough to breathe. Harlan dropped him at the dorms with a gruff handshake and a check for tuition. "Make us proud, son," he said, eyes misty for the first time Stephen could remember. College was a revelation. Aggieville's bars pulsed with life on weekends, co-eds in low-cut tops laughing under neon signs, but Stephen found his crowd in the theater department. He auditioned for Rent on a dare, landing the role of Angel's understudy, a drag queen with a heart as big as Broadway. Rehearsals were electric. Guys in fishnets and feather boas trading lines laced with innuendo, the air thick with hairspray and possibility. It was there, backstage after a midnight run-through, that Stephen first kissed a boy. His name was Micah, lithe, with eyeliner-smudged eyes and a laugh like shattering glass. They tumbled into the prop closet amid stacks of cardboard sets, Micah's hands fumbling with Stephen's belt as their mouths crashed together in a frenzy of discovery. It was messy, urgent, tasting of cheap beer and freedom. "I've wanted this since callbacks," Micah gasped, pulling Stephen closer. For those stolen hours, Stephen wasn't Harlan's son or Caleb's shadow. He was alive, electric, desired. But Manhattan wasn't New York. The high wore off by sophomore year, eroded by whispers in the dining hall. Hale, the farm kid, heard he's into dudes, and a homesick ache that pulled him back to Elmwood every break. Harlan noticed the changes. The earring Stephen pierced on a whim, the way he dodged questions about girls. "You seein' anyone?" Harlan prodded over Thanksgiving turkey, carving slices with surgical precision. "Just focusing on school, Dad." Stephen shoveled mashed potatoes, avoiding those piercing blue eyes. Evelyn fluttered in with pie, her smile a shield. "He's got a bright future, Harlan. Let the boy be." Christmas brought the storm. Snow blanketed the fields in a hush, the Hale hearth crackling as the family gathered in the living room, twinkling lights casting halos on the nativity scene. Caleb and his wife, Mandy, cooed over baby photos, while Harlan nursed his scotch, regaling tales of the co-op's bumper crop. Stephen sat on the fringes, nursing a secret that swelled like yeast in his gut. It burst after midnight mass, as they trudged home through the drifts, boots crunching virgin snow. Evelyn linked arms with Stephen, humming Silent Night, when Harlan clapped him on the back. "So, son, Any special gal catch your eye up there? The words lodged like ice in Stephen's throat. The carols faded. The wind howled. And in that frozen moment, he chose truth over thaw. Dad. It's not girls. It's guys. The silence was a blizzard. Harlan's truck keys jangled as he fumbled for the door, Evelyn's gasp fogging the air. Inside, the kitchen light buzzed like a fluorescent interrogation. Harlan poured another scotch, knuckles white. Say that again. I'm gay, Dad. I can't change it. I don't want to. The glass shattered against the wall, amber liquid spiderwebbing the wallpaper. You what? After everything, the farm, the name, the life I built for you, you're throwing it away for that. Harlan's face twisted, veins bulging like riverbeds in drought. Evelyn sobbed into her apron. Harlan, please, no. He rounded on Stephen, finger jabbing like a pitchfork. This ain't natural. It's a sin. Boy. A goddamn abomination. You think I raised a fairy? Caleb burst in from the porch, snow-dusted and wide-eyed. What's going on? Your brother's decided he's one of them, Harlan spat, the word landing like a slap. Mandy hovered in the doorway, clutching her shawl, horror etching her features. The room spun into chaos. Evelyn pleading, Caleb muttering Bible verses, Harlan roaring about legacy and shame. Stephen stood frozen, the warmth of the house turning to ash in his mouth. Get out, Harlan finally growled, chest heaving. You're dead to us. Dead. The words echoed as Stephen grabbed his coat, the door slamming behind him like a tombstone. He drove through the night, wipers slashing at the flurries, until the tank ran dry on I-70. There, on the shoulder under a sodium lamp's glow, he shattered, sobs racking his frame, the weight of disownment crushing like a combine's treads. By dawn, he was back in Manhattan, crashing on Micah's futon, but the fracture was set. Calls went unanswered, letters returned unopened. Evelyn's lone missive arrived weeks later, a typed note on plain stationery. We're holding a memorial service next Sunday, to mourn the son we lost. Don't come. It's for family. Stephen burned it in the dorm sink, the flames dancing like demons. He dropped theater, switched to agronomy, ironic armor against the farm that birthed him. Micah fizzled out amid the grief, their hookups turning hollow. Graduation came and went. Harlan didn't show. Stephen loaded his truck again, this time westbound, chasing the Pacific's promise over the Rockies' bite. Los Angeles swallowed him whole. The sprawl of freeways and palm silhouettes felt like absolution, the city of angels, where reinvention was currency. He landed a gig as a production assistant on an indie film set in Silver Lake, fetching coffee for directors with ironic mustaches and actors nursing hangovers from WeHo clubs. The pay sucked, but the vibe hummed. Rainbow flags fluttering from bungalows, queer bars like the Abbey pulsing with bass that drowned doubt. It was at a rap party in the Hollywood Hills, poolside, under strings of Edison bulbs, that Stephen met Larry Voss. Larry was 35, a screenwriter with a salt and pepper beard and eyes like aged whiskey, warm and knowing. He lounged by the infinity edge, nursing a gin and tonic, scribbling notes on a cocktail napkin as Lana Del Rey crooned from hidden speakers. Stephen, buzzed on cheap rose, mistook him for Crew. Hey, man, you need a refill? I'm running low on my end too. Larry looked up, a slow smile crinkling the corners of his mouth. Only if you join me. I'm Larry, the guy who wrote this mess. They talked until the party thinned to stragglers. Larry's scripts about fractured families, Stephen's tales of Kansas ghosts. Larry listened without pity, his hand brushing Stephen's knee under the table, a spark that ignited something dormant. Sounds like you carried the weight of the world on those shoulders, Larry said, voice low. Let me help lighten it. Their first date was at Griffith Observatory, stars wheeling overhead as they shared a blanket and stories. Larry had grown up in Seattle, out since 16 to a mom who baked him pride cookies and a dad who learned to love late. It's not always roses, he admitted, tracing Stephen's palm. But it's yours. Own it. Kisses followed under the planetarium's dome, tentative then torrent. Larry's apartment in Echo Park became sanctuary. Exposed brick walls lined with scripts and succulents, a king bed where they mapped each other's scars. Stephen bloomed there, tattooing a phoenix on his ribs, cutting his hair short and sharp, auditioning for bit parts in Larry's pilots. Love settled like fog over the basin, thick and enveloping. But ghosts don't stay buried. 2 years in, a letter arrived postmarked Elmwood, Evelyn's looping script. Harlan's sick. Cancer. Come home. Stephen stared at it for days, the paper creasing in his fist. Larry found him on the balcony, sunset bleeding orange across the skyline. Go, Larry urged, wrapping arms around him from behind. Not for them. For you. The flight to Wichita was turbulence incarnate, mirroring the churn in his gut. Elmwood hadn't changed. Silo's sentinel, Main Street's diner slinging pie and gossip. The Hale farmhouse sagged under ivy, porch swing creaking in the wind. Evelyn answered the door, thinner, eyes hollowed by vigil. Stephen, she breathed, then pulled him into a hug that smelled of lavender and loss. Harlan lay in the master bed, gaunt as a winter field, oxygen hissing from a tank. He turned his head, blue eyes locking on Stephen's like rusted handcuffs. You came. For Mom. Stephen's voice cracked. No handshake. No welcome. Caleb lurked in the hall, arms crossed, Mandy wrangling the kids in the kitchen. The visit stretched to a week of silences. Meals where forks scraped plates like accusations, nights where Harlan's coughs rattled the walls. One evening, as fireflies danced outside, Harlan beckoned Stephen to his side. I was wrong, he rasped, hand trembling on the quilt. Feared losing you to the world. Didn't see I was pushing you away. Tears pricked Stephen's eyes. It's not too late, Dad, but it was. Harlan passed at dawn 3 days later, the room filling with the scent of rain on dust. The funeral was packed, neighbors in starched collars, Harlan's tractor gleaming in the driveway like a monument. Stephen sat in the back, Larry's hand in his under the hymnal, a quiet anchor amid the eulogies. As clods thudded on the casket, Caleb cornered him by the graveside. You think showing up fixes it? Dad died ashamed because of you. Me? Stephen's blood boiled. I loved him. You all buried me first. Caleb sneered. We had a service for you, Stevie. Remember? To move on. The words ignited fury long banked. Move on? From what? Your hypocrisy. But Caleb walked away, leaving Stephen with Larry's steady gaze. Let it go, Larry murmured. They're not worth the dirt. They flew back to LA that night. The city lights a constellation of second chances. Stephen threw himself into work, co-producing a short film on queer youth in the Heartland. Larry's script sold to HBO, no less, about a son reclaiming his inheritance from spectral parents. Life arced upward. Brunches at home with rainbow mimosas. Road trips to Big Sur where they made love on cliffs overlooking the sea. Yet the folder waited in Stephen's desk drawer. Yellowed pages of receipts, emails from a PI he'd hired in grief, uncovering Harlan's old affair with the co-op secretary, Caleb's skimmed farm funds for a gambling habit, Evelyn's quiet donations to a Wichita LGBTQ shelter. Truths that proved the Hales weren't saints, just sinners in flannel. Stephen kept them as talismans, not weapons, until the invitation arrived. It was innocuous, a gilt-edged card from the family lawyer, announcing a memorial for the lost son on the 5th anniversary of Stephen's death. Caleb's doing, no doubt, a twisted family therapy, purging the gay specter once and for all. Evelyn's note tucked inside, "Please stay away." For peace. Larry found him pacing the kitchen, card clutched like a grenade. They're doing it again? After everything? Stephen's laugh was bitter. Symbolic burial. Round 2. Empty casket. Prayers for my soul. Larry pulled him close, stubble rasping against Stephen's cheek. Then crash it. Show them you're not dead. You're thriving. The idea rooted like milkweed in cracked concrete. Stephen booked flights, the folder his carry-on. Not for revenge, he told Larry as they packed. For closure. Elmwood welcomed them with autumn chill, leaves carpeting the roads like confetti for a parade no one wanted. They checked into a motel on the outskirts, neon vacancy sign flickering like Morse code. Larry traced Stephen's jaw in the dim lamplight. You sure? Stephen nodded, desire surging as Larry's lips met his. They made love fiercely, bodies entwining like vines claiming a trellis, gasps echoing off the thin walls. I love you, Stephen whispered after, Larry's heartbeat a drum against his chest. Whatever happens tomorrow. The church loomed at noon, bells tolling like judgments. Stephen dressed in his best, a charcoal suit from the HBO premiere, tie knotted with care. Larry kissed him at the door. I'll be in the back. Your wingman. Inside, the air was incense and hypocrisy, pews filled with kin who hadn't spoken his name in years. Aunt Marlene dabbed her eyes at the front. Uncle Ray fidgeted with his program titled In Memoriam. Stephen Michael Hale. The casket yawned empty, lilies wilting in the draft. Reverend Ellis, older now, jowls sagging, cleared his throat. We gather to honor a life cut short by wayward choices. Stephen rose then, the doors thudding behind him. The room froze as he advanced, folder in hand. Cut short? Try resurrected. Gasps rippled. Marlene swooned into her purse. Caleb surged to his feet. What the hell are you doing here? Attending my funeral, Stephen said, voice carrying like a quarterback's call. Figured I'd bring the truth you buried with me. He slapped the folder onto the altar, pages fanning out, bank statements showing Caleb's embezzlement, love letters from Harlan's mistress, Evelyn's check stubs to the shelter. You mourned a lie. I lived the truth. Chaos erupted, shouts, sobs, the Reverend's pleas for order. Evelyn stood, face ashen, reaching for him. Stephen. No. Yes. Mom. He met her eyes, soft with regret. I forgive you. But I won't let you define me anymore. Caleb lunged, fist raised, but Uncle Ray hauled him back. Enough. Boy, he's right, we all got dirt. Larry appeared at Stephen's side, hand on his elbow, a silent shield. The congregation murmured, some nodding, others fleeing into the lot. In the melee, Evelyn pressed a photo into Stephen's palm, a faded snapshot of baby him on Harlan's shoulders, grins wide as the sky. "Keep it," she whispered. "We love you." "We were wrong." Outside, rain pattered on the gravel as Stephen and Larry walked to the truck. No thunder, just release. "You were magnificent," Larry said, pulling him into a kiss under the spire's shadow. Stephen exhaled, the weight lifting like fog at sunrise. "We're free, back in LA." The crash landing felt like jet lag amplified by karma. Stephen's phone buzzed nonstop for days. Voicemails from cousins he'd forgotten. A terse text from Caleb, "We need to talk." Farm's in trouble. Evelyn called too, her voice a fragile bridge over the chasm. "I'm sorry, honey. For the service. For everything. Can we try?" Stephen paced the Echo Park living room, Larry brewing coffee in the kitchenette, the scent grounding him like roots in soil. "Try what? Mom, you declared me dead." A pause, thick as molasses. "Your father. He left a letter. For you." In the attorney's office, the words hooked him. Harlan's handwriting, blocky, deliberate, on an envelope sealed with time. They flew back a week later, landing in Wichita under steel-gray skies that mirrored the unresolved ache in Stephen's chest. The lawyer's office smelled of oiled leather and old money, mahogany desk piled with ledgers from the will. "Mr. Hale intended this for you alone," the attorney said, sliding the envelope across. Stephen's fingers trembled as he broke the wax. Unfolding sheets yellowed like autumn cornstalks. "Son, if you're reading this, I'm gone. Words I should have said in life stick in my throat now. I was scared of losing the farm, the name, you to a world that don't bend easy. But burying you was my sin, bigger than any I carried. You were always the strong one, seeing beauty in the wild things I tried to tame. Forgive an old fool. The back 40, it's yours. Plant what you want there. Love, Dad." Tears blurred the ink. Stephen pressed the paper to his face, inhaling phantom traces of pipe tobacco and earth. Larry squeezed his shoulder. "I soft." "He saw you." In the end, Evelyn waited outside, bundled in a wool coat that swallowed her frame. They drove to the farm in silence, the truck's heater wheezing against the November bite. Caleb was in the barn, wrestling a hay baler, grease-streaked and sullen. The kids, now 7 and 5, toddled after him, oblivious to the fault lines. "Stevie," Caleb grunted, wiping his brow. No hug, but no fist either. "Lawyer said you got the letter." "Yeah." Stephen leaned against a post, the wood rough under his palm. "And the land." Caleb's jaw tightened. "Farms bleed in money. Drought last summer. Co-op rates tanked. If you sell." "I'm not selling." Stephen met his brother's gaze, steady as a plow line. "We'll figure it. Together." The word hung, tentative as a truce. Over dinner that night, Evelyn's pot roast, carrots from the root cellar, the table thawed. Mandy asked about LA, tentative questions about that lifestyle, but Larry charmed with tales of set mishaps, drawing laughs from the kids. Caleb unbent enough to crack a beer for Stephen, clinking bottles with a nod. To not be in dead, nights blurred into a rhythm. Stephen and Larry bunking in his old room, The twin bed a comedy of elbows and whispers. They'd slip out to the back 40 under moon-silvered skies, blankets spread amid the stubble, making love with the river's murmur as chorus. "This land's in your blood," Larry murmured once, tracing the phoenix tattoo. "But you're more than it." Mornings brought work, surveying the 40 acres, fallow since Harlan's stroke. Stephen dreamed big, organic co-op, solar panels glinting like promises, a community space for queer kids from towns like Elmwood. Caleb scoffed at first. "Hippie nonsense. Wheat pays the bills." But Stephen persisted, pitching to the county AG board, rallying old neighbors with free beer at the diner. Larry scripted a doc short on the project, filming dawn shots of Stephen knee-deep in soil, hands dirty with hope. Evelyn volunteered, her Jell-O salads now laced with rainbow sprinkles for potlucks. It wasn't seamless. Caleb's gambling ghost reared, a creditor calling mid-harvest, demanding $5,000. Stephen covered it from his producer savings. No lecture, just a shared cigarette on the porch as dusk fell. "I dipped into the kids' fund," Caleb admitted, smoke curling like confession. "Thought I could win it back." "We all chase ghosts," Stephen replied, clapping his shoulder. "Let 'em go." Christmas came softer that year. The tree twinkled in the bay window, ornaments handmade by little hands. Evelyn strung popcorn garlands, humming carols without the old fervor. Gifts piled modest, flannel shirts for the men, a leather-bound journal for Stephen from Larry, inscribed for the stories you'll tell. On Christmas Eve, after the kids conked out sugar-drunk, the adults gathered by the fire. Caleb pulled Stephen aside, voice gruff. "I was wrong, back then. About Dad. About you. Mandy and me. We're sendin' the boys to that pride camp in Topeka next summer." Stephen's throat tightened. "They'd like that." A beat. Then Caleb hugged him. Awkward, bone-crushing, real. "Welcome home, little brother." The new year dawned with rain, turning fields to mud that sucked at boots like reluctance. Stephen and Larry balanced coasts. LA for shoots, Elmwood for roots. Larry's HBO series greenlit, filming in Vancouver, but he FaceTimed nightly, his face pixelated but presence solid. "Miss you, farm boy. Miss your city slicker ass," Stephen teased, but the distance chafed. Whispers started Larry's co-star, a chiseled Brit named Reese, too touchy in behind-the-scenes clips. Stephen scrolled Instagram at 2 a.m., heart souring at likes and comments. Just work, he told himself, but doubt rooted deep. Crested in April, under Vancouver's relentless drizzle. Larry flew Stephen up for a weekend, sweet overlooking the harbor, but the air crackled with unspoken. Over salmon at a gastropub, Reese joined uninvited, all cheekbones and banter. "Stephen, love, Larry's told us all about your rebel farm. Fancy a pint?" Larry laughed it off, but his hand lingered on Reese's arm a beat too long. Back at the hotel, Stephen confronted him in the marble bathroom, mirror fogging from the shower they'd skipped. "What's with you two?" Larry's eyes widened. "Nothing. He's flirty, actor thing." "Bullshit." Stephen's voice rose, echoing off tile. "I see the posts, the touches. Am I just your heartland fling?" Larry recoiled, beard shadowing hurt. "Flirt? After everything? I love you, Stephen. This project's killing me. Yeah, long hours. Pressure, but not with him." They argued through the night. Words like barbs. Stephen's insecurities from Elmwood scars. Larry's exhaustion from proving fidelity. Dawn found them tangled in sheets. Apologies murmured into necks. "I'm scared of losing you," Stephen admitted, tears hot on Larry's chest. "You won't." Larry kissed his knuckles. "Marry me. Make it official." The proposal landed soft. A velvet box from his pocket holding a platinum band etched with wheat sheafs and script pages. Stephen laughed through sobs. "Yes. God. Yes." They wed in June. A hybrid affair. Echo Park ceremony under jacarandas. Purple petals raining like blessings. Then Elmwood reception in the back 40. Tents strung with lights amid wildflower rows. 50 guests, LA creatives in linen. Kansas kin in boots, mingled over brisket and craft IPAs. Evelyn walked Stephen down the aisle, her arm steady. Caleb toasted with a quip about finally tying the knot right. Honeymoon in Big Sur. Cliffside cabin. Waves crashing below as they consummated vows on a deck slick with sea spray. Larry's hands mapped Stephen's body like a cherished script, whispers of forever blending with gulls' cries. Back home, homes, plural, the rhythm steadied. The farm co-op launched. Solar-powered greenhouses yielding heirloom tomatoes. A youth center in the old granary hosting art nights for rural LGBTQ kids. Stephen keynote at a Topeka Pride event. His story rippling through Heartland headlines. From buried to blooming, Kansas gay man's redemption. Larry's series premiered to buzz, their characters' arc mirroring their own. Fractured family mended by truth. Critics raved. Emmys loomed. Life felt full, a harvest after lean years. But betrayal brews in abundance's shade. It started with a script note, Larry's showrunner pushing a steamy subplot with Reese. Artistic license. Larry dismissed over dinner, but Stephen smelled smoke. Then the emails hacked. Anonymous. Forwarded by a mutual friend. Late-night texts from Larry to Reese. Need you. Hotel bar. Meeting invites disguised as table reads. Photos. Reese's hand on Larry's thigh at an after-party. Lips too close. Stephen confronted him in the kitchen. Laptop open like an autopsy. Explain. Larry blanched. Scrolling frantic. Fake. Someone screwing with us. Jealous PA. Maybe, but the doubt festered. Stephen drove to Elmwood alone, needing soil under nails to think. Caleb found him in the field, hoeing rows at dusk. Trouble in paradise? Trust issues. Stephen wiped sweat, dirt caking his palms. Larry. Might have cheated. Caleb squatted, handing him a water bottle. Men screw up. Dad did, with that secretary. Forgave him 'cause family. But if he did, cut clean. The advice anchored, but pain lanced. Back in LA, Stephen moved to the guest room, the bed vast and cold. Larry begged, therapy sessions in Silver Lake, where a soft-spoken counselor unpacked Larry's fear of failure, Stephen's abandonment wounds. Communication's the bridge, she said. They rebuilt slow. Date nights at the Hollywood Bowl, hands clasped during indie flicks. Reese was written out, the subplot axed. Larry deleted apps, shared passwords, a transparency vow. By fall, the guest room gathered dust. They hosted Thanksgiving, Evelyn and Caleb flying in, turkey carved amid laughter. As snow dusted the farm via video call, Stephen felt the mend hold. Yet climax waits for no peace. December brought the call. Evelyn, hysterical. Caleb's gone. Heart attack. Plowing the back 40. The world tilted. Flights scrambled. LA fading to white noise. Elmwood enveloped in grief's fog. Caleb's truck still hitched to the tractor. Keys in ignition. Mandy wept in the kitchen. Kids wide-eyed and wordless. Funeral was Harlan's echo. Packed church. Eulogies heavy with what-ifs. Stephen spoke, voice cracking over the casket. He was my brother. Flawed. Fierce. Family. We mended late, but we mended. After. In the will reading. Shock. Caleb left the main farm to Mandy, but the co-op shares to Stephen. Knew you'd make it thrive, the lawyer read from the note. Larry held him through nights of sobs, whispering, "You're not alone." But in the quiet, Stephen wondered, who buries whom next? Spring unfurled tentative. Mandy sold portions, kept the house. Stephen expanded the co-op, naming a greenhouse after Caleb. Larry's series swept awards, but he deferred red carpets for farm weekends, hands blistered from volunteering. One evening, as fireflies lit the 40, Stephen proposed a coda. Let's adopt. Give these kids a bigger world. Larry grinned, pulling him close. Hell yes. Startin' with one from here, keep the roots. Life looped, not linear. Betrayals healed into stronger bonds, death's seeding growth. Stephen walked the fields, folder long burned, carrying only truths that set free. In America's heart, under endless sky, love wasn't a grave. It was the green shoot pushing through. The adoption papers landed like a seed catalog in April's mail, thick, promising, laced with bureaucracy's fine print. Stephen and Larry pored over them at the Echo Park kitchen table, highlighters marking clauses amid mugs of black coffee steamed from the French press. The agency specialized in rural-to-urban placements, bridging heartland kids with city homes, and their profile sang, stable professionals, farm ties, a guest room converted to nursery with organic cotton cribs and walls painted sage green. Look at this one, Larry said, tapping a photo of a freckled 9-year-old named Eli, all gap-toothed grin and overalls. Bio noting loves baseball, misses his pawpaw's stories. Reminds me of you at that age. Stubborn spark. Stephen traced the image, heart tugging. Eli's folks lost to a meth spiral in rural Missouri, bounced foster homes like bad checks. He'd fit. The farm, teach him to throw a curveball. They submitted, nerves jangling like keys on a tractor ring. Home studies followed, social worker touring the bungalow, nodding at the backyard swing set they'd installed. Larry's scripts stacked neat as evidence of provision. Evelyn visited from Elmwood, baking zucchini bread and quizzing the caseworker on family values, her way of vetting without judgment. Approval came in June, a phone call mid-co-op meeting. Stephen stepped out to the greenhouse, phone pressed to ear as tomato vines curled triumphant. Congratulations, Mr. Hilvas. Eli's yours pending finalization. Larry whooped from the office feed, driving up in the Jeep horns blaring. They celebrated with takeout pho from Little Saigon, toasting with lychee martinis. Dads, Larry said, clinking glasses. Sounds badass. Eli arrived a week later, duffel clutched like a shield, social worker trailing with waivers. He was smaller in person, eyes wary under a Royals cap, sneakers scuffed to ghosts. Hey, kiddo, Stephen knelt, offering a hand. I'm Stephen. That's Larry, he makes up stories for a living. Eli eyed them, then Larry. Like superheroes? Better. Gay cowboys wrangling dragons. Larry winked, diffusing the tension. The worker left with a nod, and silence settled. They toured the house slow. Kitchen with pancakes promised for breakfast. Room with a baseball mitt on the bed. Posters of Fenway and Wrigley curling at edges. Eli poked the mitt, tentative. This mine. All yours. Stephen ruffled his hair, earning a flinch then a half-smile. Integration was a pitcher's duel, strikes and balls. Eli tested boundaries. Sneaking cookies at midnight, tantrums over homework that echoed his old chaos. Stephen channeled farm patience, sitting cross-legged on the rug amid scattered Legos. Spill it, bud. What's eatin' you? Nothin'. But tears came, hot and furious. Everyone leaves. Mom, Dad, Foster's. You will too. Larry joined, sandwiching Eli between them on the couch. Not us. We're the forever team. Pinky swear, pinky extended, hook locked. Eli's laugh bubbled, first crack in the shell. Weekends bridged worlds. Drives to Elmwood. Eli wide-eyed at the endless flatlands. Evelyn doted, spoiling with pie and pony rides on the old mare, Daisy. Caleb's kids, now tweens, took to him fierce, teaching foursquare in the yard, dust devils swirling like joy. Mandy hosted barbecues, her grief softened to gratitude. He'd love this, she said of Caleb, watching Eli chase fireflies. Big heart like his uncle. Larry scripted a family arc into his next season. Adoptive dads navigating heartland holidays, queerness woven casual as denim. Eli cameoed in a scene, voicing a wise kid sidekick, his drawl charming critics. HBO's Heartland Glow Up, Variety dubbed it. But conflict simmers in domestic bliss. Fall brought Larry's wanderlust itch, an offer to helm a prestige drama in New York. 6-month shoot. It's career rocket fuel, he pitched over stir-fry, chopsticks pausing. We could all go, Eli in a progressive school, you remote managing the co-op. Stephen's fork stilled, kale wilting on porcelain. Rip roots again? He just settled. And me, the 40s thriving, kids coming weekly for art therapy. Larry's eyes pleaded. Babe, we're young. Adventure before the minivan phase. The argument escalated post-bedtime. Eli's door cracked to monitor snores. This isn't about us, Stephen hissed, pacing the hallway. It's Eli. Stability he never had. And what about me? Larry shot back, voice cracking. I uprooted for you, Seattle to LA. Scripts shelved for farm halls. I need this win. Words flew like hay bales. Selfishness accusations, resentment unearthed. Stephen slept on the couch, dreams tangled with Elmwood thorns. Dawn brought coffee truce, but fracture lingered. Eli sensed it, withdrawing to his room with comic books. Stephen found him sketching superheroes, capes torn, one with a broken arm. Hey, champ. Talk to me. You and Larry fightin'? Eli mumbled, crayon pausing. Like my folks. Yellin' 'bout money, then gone. Stephen's gut twisted. Not like that. We're figuring grown-up stuff. Eli looked up, eyes old beyond years. Promise you won't leave? Promise. Stephen hugged him fierce, inhaling shampoo and small boy sweat. They compromised. Larry took the gig, solo. Stephen and Eli held fort in LA. FaceTimes bridging miles, Larry narrating Central Park jogs, Eli showing homework hauls. But distance devours. Late-night calls cut short by exhaustion, texts laced with subtext. Stephen buried in co-op expansion. Greenhouses multiplying like miracles. But loneliness crept, cold as Kansas wind. Thanksgiving tested. Larry flew home, arms laden with Macy's leftovers and apologies. Evelyn hosted in Elmwood, table groaning under turkey and fixings, extended kin orbiting like planets. Eli carved with Larry, knife steady under guidance, while Stephen and Mandy swapped Foster war stories in the kitchen. Post-feast, as pie steamed, Caleb's ghost stirred. A box from the attic, Mandy unearthing it. Found this in the barn. For you, Stephen. Inside, Harlan's old journals, leather-bound, pages filled with ink-faded musings. Entries spanned decades. Droughts prayed through, Caleb's first steps, Stephen's birth. A quiet storm, this one. Eyes that see too deep. Later, struggled with the boy today. Loves the horse's wrong way. God, guide me. And after the disownment, broke my own boy. If I could rewind. Stephen read by firelight, tears salting the pages. Larry draped an arm, voice soft. He loved you, messy as it was. Eli piped up from the rug, Legos clicking. Grandpa sounds like a cowboy with secrets. Laughter rippled, easing the ache. That night, in the guest bed, Stephen and Larry reconnected. Slow, exploratory, bodies remembering rhythms. I miss us, Larry whispered, fingers interlacing. New York's glitter, but you're my gold. Miss you too. Stephen kissed his temple. But Eli's our anchor. Don't drift. Christmas amplified. Eli's first with real family. Santa's bounty under the tree including a Royals jersey monogrammed Hailvoss. They Skyped Mandy's crew. Snowball fights relayed via video from Elmwood's drifts. Larry wrapped the shoot early. Bonus funded a family trip to Yellowstone. Geysers erupting like emotions long banked. They hiked geothermal trails. Eli whooping at bubbling mud pots. Stephen and Larry stealing kisses behind boulders. One night in a lodge. Buffalo silhouetted against stars. Eli asleep between them. Larry proposed renewal. Therapy when I'm back. Stronger. Stephen nodded. Hope flickering. Deal. Winter thawed to spring. Larry home for good. The co-op bloomed. First youth showcase. Teens painting murals of prairies reclaimed. Eli beaming as MC. A local paper profiled Stephen from outcast to outright, queer farmer's legacy. But betrayal's echo lingers. May brought a script leak. Larry's New York notes. Flirty emails to a producer's assistant. Drinks? Your insights inspire. Innocent, or pattern. Stephen confronted over tacos at a food truck. Neon buzzing accusatory. Again? While we're building this. Larry swore fidelity. Phone tossed in frustration. Paranoia from the hack. Trust me. Eli overheard from the Jeep. Face crumpling. You lying too? The fallout quaked. Eli regressing to bedwetting. Co-op meetings blurring through tears. Stephen sought counsel from the therapist solo, unpacking Elmwood's blueprint of doubt. Love's not possession, she said. It's choice. Daily. Larry stepped up. Couples intensives in Big Bear, where pines whispered forgiveness. They emerged raw. Recommitted, Larry deleting contacts. Stephen voicing fears before fester. Summer solstice marked pivot. Eli's 10th birthday bash at the farm. Bonfire crackling as kin gathered. Mandy brought Caleb's old mitt, passing to Eli. From your uncle. He was a hell of a shortstop. Eli hugged it, then Larry and Stephen in turn. Best dads ever. As embers glowed, Stephen pulled Larry aside by the river. We're good. Better. Larry's kiss sealed it, river murmuring assent. Yet climax crests unbidden. August scorched, drought cracking earth like veins. Co-op irrigation failed, pipes corroded from Caleb's neglect. Crops withered, youth program teetered on grants denied. Creditors circled, echoing Caleb's debts. Stephen scrambled, fundraisers in LA, bake sales in Elmwood. Larry pitched a doc-series on the crisis, cameras capturing wilted rose. In the crunch, fracture reappeared. Larry's agent dangled a London offer, career-defining, quick shoot. We need the cash, Larry urged, eyes desperate. Stephen's resolve hardened. Not at our cost. Stay. Fight with us. Larry wavered, then chose family first. The doc aired viral, donations flooding. Pipes replaced, fields greened. Eli, amid the revival, confided a crush on a co-op boy, braces flashing shy. Stephen counseled gentle, own your story, kid. It's yours to tell. Fall harvested bounty. Wedding anniversary vow renewal under the granary's mural. Guests toasting with cider from the press. Evelyn danced with Larry, whispering, You saved my boy. As leaves turned, Stephen reflected. Betrayal's sting fades to scar. Strength's quiet weave. In America's quilted heart, love endures not flawless, but fierce. October's harvest moon hung low over the back 40. A swollen lantern casting silver on the silos like a benediction from some agrarian god. The co-op's first full-yield festival thrummed with life. Hayride loops ferrying families through pumpkin patches. Cider presses groaning under apple weight. Local bands twanging bluegrass from a flatbed stage. Eli darted among it all. 10 now and tall as a sapling. His Royals cap askew as he hawked honey jars at the kids' booth. Get your buzz on, folks. Stephen watched from the granary steps. Arms crossed over his flannel. A rare smile softening the lines worry had etched. The drought's shadow lingered in thinner rows, but the docusery's infusion had bought breathing room. New drip lines snaking like veins. Solar arrays winking on the ridge. Youth turnout swelled. Teens from Liberal to Lawrence, sketching futures on easels amid the stubble. Larry sidled up, 2 plastic cups steaming with mulled wine. Look at you, king of the county fair. Emmy bait yet? Stephen sipped, the spice warming his chest. Nah. This is better, real stakes. No edits. Their fingers brushed. A casual anchor after the spring's tempests. The festival peaked at dusk. Bonfire leaping as fiddles wailed. Eli roped them into a hay bale square dance. His giggles infectious as partners botched duos. Evelyn swirled with a neighboring widower, her laughter peeling free for the first time since Harlan. Mandy corralled her teens into a conga line, the chain snaking through lanterns like a living quilt. As embers died to glow, Stephen and Larry slipped away to the riverbank, blanket spread on dew-kissed grass. The Arkansas murmured conspiratorial, stars pricking the velvet dome. Larry pulled Stephen close, lips grazing his ear. 5 years married. Feels like yesterday's proposal, knee-deep in Big Sur mud. Stephen chuckled, hand splaying over Larry's heart. And tomorrow's fight over who burns the toast. But his voice dipped, vulnerability threading. Thanks for staying. London would have been easy money. Larry's eyes reflected firelight. Serious. Money buys pipes. You buy peace. They made love there, unhurried. The night enveloping them in hush, bodies attuned, breaths sinking like seasons turning. Afterward, tangled in wool, Stephen voiced the unspokens. Eli's crush, that kid Jax from the program. Handled it okay. Larry nodded, tracing lazy circles on Stephen's back. You were perfect. Love who lights your fire. Just mind the burn. Kid lit up. Pride swelled, mingled with ache. He'll face what I did. Whispers. Stares. Then we'll shield him. Like you shielded me from my own doubts. Sleep came deep, lulled by current song. Dawn broke crisp. Festival remnants crunching under tires as they packed for L.A. Eli chattering about school plays, backpack stuffed with caramel apples. The drive blurred interstates, wheat yielding to suburbs, then sprawl's neon embrace. Home unpacked routine, Eli's immersion in third-grade orbit, Stephen zooming co-op metrics, Larry pitching a Heartland horror script laced with queer subtext. November elections stirred national fever, ballots mailed with ads blaring border walls and culture wars. Elmwood buzzed tense, church sermons veering political, neighbors dividing over yard signs. Evelyn called midweek, voice quavering. Harlan's old friend Ray, he's runnin' for county commissioner. Spewin' about family values, targeting your co-op as indoctrination central. Stephen's grip tightened on the phone. The youth center? It's art class. Mom. Crayons. Not conversion. I know, honey. But folks, listen. Caleb would have shut him down. The threat coalesced. Petitions circulating to defund. Whispers of zoning blocks. Stephen rallied town halls in the diner. Op-eds to the Wichita Eagle. Larry filmed testimonials. Elders recounting Dust Bowl solidarities. Teens voicing dreams unashamed. Climax brewed at the commission debate. High school gym packed shoulder to elbow. Bleachers groaning under flannel and fury. Ray stood podium proud. Jowls quivering as he thundered. This so-called co-op ain't farm. It's agenda. Teachin' our boys to prance instead of plow. Boos rippled. Stephen rose from the third row. Larry's hand squeezing his. Commissioner Ray, you knew my father. He built this land on hard work, not hate. That prancing boy? It's me. Gay. Proud. Planting roots you can't uproot. Murmurs swelled to applause. Ray red-faced sputtering. Evelyn stood next. Petite frame defiant. My son saved this farm when we faltered. Judge him by harvest. Not headlines. The tide turned. Ray's bid sank in recounts. Post-victory beers at the farm. Kin clustered porchside. Mandy hugged Stephen fierce. Caleb'd be proud. Hell. He'd by the first round. Eli. Eavesdropping from the swing. Piped. Uncle Stephen's a superhero. Beats bad guys with words. Larry ruffled his hair. And dads. Don't forget the team. Winter wrapped gentle that year. Snow dusting the 40 like powdered sugar. Eli building forts with Larry while Stephen shoveled paths to the greenhouses. Holiday cards flooded. Co-op families. L.A. neighbors. Even a note from Micah, the college ghost, heard your story. Inspired my coming out play. Beers on me if you're east. New Year's dawned champagne toasted on the bungalow roof. Eli tucked in below. Fireworks burst over the basin, Larry's arm heavy around Stephen's waist. Resolutions. More of this. Stephen gestured the sprawl. Less doubt. Amen. Spring quickened pulse. Eli's school play casting him as Tom Sawyer. Rafty adventures mirroring his own. Rehearsals filled evenings. Stephen chauffeuring carpools. Larry coaching lines with dramatic flair. Jax tagged along often. Two boys giggling over rafts sketched on napkins. Innocent sparks. Betrayal's specter flickered faint, but vigilance waned. Larry's agent dangled a festival invite Sundance. Script reading with industry brass. Networking gold, he enthused. Fly out. Charm 'em. Stephen nodded easy. Go. We've earned trust. Larry jetted to Park City. Powder days blending panels. Texts flowed. Snow angels and schmoozing. Miss y'all. Photos. Larry with directors. Grins wide. Then the call, anonymous tipster. Voice distorted. Check his DMs. Your husband's not faithful. Stephen's blood iced. Laptop open. Instagram dove. Larry's account. Direct messages unearthed. Flirty threads with a Sundance producer. Emojis winking. Coffee tomorrow? Your take on my arc intrigues. Meetup cords pinned. Heart hammering. Stephen dialed. Larry answered breathless. Après-ski glow. Babe? Everything okay? The messages. Voice steal. Producer. Intrigues. Explain. Silence stretched. Then crumble. It's nothing, networking flirt. Harmless. Harmless. Fury crested. After vows. Therapy. Eli's trust. I'm done. He hung up. World narrowing to Eli's bedtime story, where the wild things are. Monsters tamed by love's return. But sleep evaded. Betrayal's blade twisting. Larry chartered back at dawn, pounding the door with pleas. Eli answered sleepy, hugging him wordless. Kitchen confrontation brewed bitter. Larry sobbing apologies. Pressure cooker up here. Ego boosts. But I shut it down. Swear. Show me. Stephen demanded phone. Deletions fresh but caches lingering. A kissy face reply. Untyped regret. Eli wandered in. Eyes owl wide. Why yellin'? You leavin'? Larry scooped him. Never. Champ. Stephen's resolve cracked. Bed. Kiddo. Dad's need to fix. Alone. They circled. Larry owning the slip. Felt unseen in the success. Stephen airing abandonment's echo. Dawn broke with armistice. Larry firing the agent. Deleting socials. A sabbatical pledged to co-op work. Healing humped slow. Eli's play opening night. Tom Sawyer triumphant on stage. Raft of cardboard glory. Backstage. Jax hugged him exuberant. Cheeks flushing mutual. Stephen caught Larry's eye over applause. Nod sealing solidarity. Summer scorched renewal. Family camping in the Smokies. Tents pitched amid rhododendron blooms. Eli and Jax. Invited as best bud. Skipped stones. Crushes blooming shy. Larry taught constellations. Stephen grilled trout. Nights filled with esmores and stories. Evelyn's health scare mid-trip. A fall. Bruised hip rallied them home. Elmwood enveloped. Hospital vigils. Kids shuttled to Mandy's. Recovery slow. But Evelyn mended. Walker traded for Kane. Old bones, she quipped. But hearts hail. Fall festival redux. Bountiful. Brass bands brassy. Eli emceed with Jax. Duo announcing pie winners with mic'd mischief. As leaves swirled, Stephen proposed expansion, co-op satellite in Eli's Missouri hometown, bridging his origins. Larry scripted the grant pitch, voiceover warm. Funding flowed. Groundbreaking in October, Eli wielding the first shovel, dirt flying like confetti. Thanksgiving gathered full, tables groaning, stories overlapping. Mandy announced her engagement to the widower from the dance, joy layered on loss. Toasts rang to Caleb, Harlan, futures sown. Winter whispered change. Eli's school dance invite, from Jacks, tuxes and terrors. Stephen coach ties, Larry makeup tips from set days. Drop off curbside, hearts swelled watching them vanish into gym lights, punch cups clutched. Midnight pickup, Eli beaming, Jax's hand in his. Danced all night. Felt right. Larry high-fived from shotgun. That's our boy. Home debrief over cocoa. Crushes confessed. Kisses stolen behind bleachers. Love's scary, Eli admitted. But good scary. Stephen hugged him. The best kind. As snow fell silent, Stephen reflected. Conflicts carve deeper capacity. Betrayals burnish resilience. In America's mosaic, their thread wove enduring, flawed, fierce, family. December's chill etched frost on the bungalow windows, turning the world to etched glass as if to frame the fragility of what they'd built. Eli's winter formal loomed, a middle school rite muffled by pandemic echoes, but undimmed in excitement. He and Jax planned outfits with the fervor of generals. Bow ties in emerald to match eyes, corsages of evergreens nodding to Kansas pines. Stephen ironed shirts in the laundry nook. Larry scrolling playlist suggestions. No dad rock. Promise. While Eli FaceTime Jax. Giggles filtering through tinny speakers. Think he'll kiss me again? Eli asked post-call. Cheeks pinking under the hoodie's drawstring. Stephen paused mid-fold, meeting his son's gaze level. If it feels right, go for it. But consent's king, his call too. Eli nodded solemn, then grinned. You're such a dork, Dad. Larry snorted from the couch. Guilty by association. The dance night arrived crisp. Stars brittle overhead. They posed for pics on the porch, Eli lanky in slacks. Jax arriving with parents. Shy waves exchanged. As taillights faded, Stephen leaned on Larry, porch light haloing them. Our boy's flying. Larry's arm tightened. With wings we gave him. Midnight return buzzed electric. Eli tumbling in. Ty Askew, recounting slow dances and snackline whispers. Jack said he likes me. For real. Pride swelled. Tears pricking. Bedtime hugs lingered. Stephen murmuring. Proud of you. Always. New Year's bridged coasts. Elmwood Eve with Evelyn's cocoa and board games. LA noon with rooftop toasts. Resolutions whispered private. Stephen's. Delegate co-op more. Breathe. Larry's. Pen a memoir. Scripts and soil. Eli's. Master the infield fly. January thawed to routine, but undercurrents stirred. Larry's memoir pitch landed a publisher. 6-figure advance. Deadline daunting. Our story, he enthused over breakfast burritos. Anonymized kin, but the heart's raw. Stephen chewed thoughtful. Evelyn okay? Elmwood details could sting. Larry nodded. Full vetting. She's game. Says it's healing. Drafts flowed. Chapters on Elmwood exile. LA reinvention. Eli's adoption arc. Stephen beta-read evenings. Notes scribbled in margins. To Pat? Show the mess. Larry revised. Voice deepening with truth. Spring quickened. Co-op satellite groundbreaking in Missouri. Eli dedicating a plaque. 4 kids like me, roots to wings. Jax attended. Hands clasped under podium. Small-town murmurs met with Stephen's steady glare. Evelyn's hip mended full. She volunteered at the new center, teaching quilting circles laced with coming-out yarns. Threads bind, she told a circle of girls. No matter the color. Mandy's wedding bloomed May. Garden affair in the back 40. Wildflowers nodding witness. Stephen walked her down the aisle. Honor from Caleb's ghost. Larry best manning with quips. Vows exchanged under the granary mural. Kids scattering petals like hopes. Honeymoon for the newlyweds meant family campout. Tents in the 40. Esmores and stargazing. Eli and Jax shared a lean-to. Whispers carrying on breeze. Stephen caught snippets. Love you. Hearts full. Summer scorched legacy. Co-op harvest record. Youth showcase touring state fairs. Eli's travel team clinched regionals. Jax cheering bleacher side. Larry's memoir proofs arrived. Cover art a split frame. Prairie sunset bleeding to city skyline. Betrayal's final echo pinged faint. A tabloid whisper of Larry's Sundance fling. Dredged from old hacks. Agent quashed it swift. But ripples hit. Anonymous email to the publisher. He's a cheat. Ask his husband. Stephen deleted unread. But doubt nibbled. Confrontation over paella. Eli at Jax's. Old ghosts, Larry sighed. Ignore. We're solid. Stephen searched his eyes. Finding truth. We are. But publish anyway. Let light disinfect. Fall festival crescendoed. Record crowds. Eli and Jax co-emceeing. Banter crackling. As bonfire roared. A surprise. Larry on stage. Mic in hand. This book's for my family, the ones blood and chosen. Dedication reads. To Stephen, who taught me resurrection. Applause thundered. Stephen pulled him down. Kiss fierce amid cheers. November elections passed quieter. Ray's defeat cemented. Elmwood evolved. Pride flags on Main. Co-op supplying farm-to-table at the diner. Thanksgiving gathered grand. Tables merged. LA kin meeting Kansas kin over turducken and tofurkey. Toasts layered. To lost ones. To gains. Eli announced, Jax and me. Official. Jax blushing beside. Rings swapped from gumball machines. Winter wrapped culminant. Larry's memoir launch in LA. Elmwood signing next. Evelyn keynote the local. Voice steady. My son buried me in shame once. Now we rise together. Eli's bat mitzvah no. Wait. Quaker meeting adaptation. Mark 12. Community circle affirming his light. Jax vowed beside. Partners in mischief. Climax crested soft. Harlan's anniversary. Family graveside with lanterns. Stephen laid wheat sheaf. Words whispered. We made it. That. All of us. Larry held Eli's hand. Evelyn leaning on Cain. Human. Huh? Messy grace. Spring eternal. Co-op expansions east. Youth network spanning states. Eli and Jax navigated middle school crushes. Braces traded for clarity. One dawn. Stephen walked the 40 alone. Dew-soaking hems. Larry joined. Coffee steaming shared. What's next? More, Stephen said. Love. Land. Legacy. They kissed under rising sun. America sprawling boundless. From declared dead to vivifying truth. Stephen's tale wove humanistic close. Not flawless arc, but resilient weave. Betrayals mended to mercy, conflicts to compassion. Romance a river carving canyons of care. In Heartland's hum and city's hum, they thrived gay, unbroken, beloved. Epilogue whispered in Eli's journal. Age 16 projection. Dads taught me, funerals fake, but families forge. I walk my truth, receipts optional. Love wins, always.